Hey everyone, welcome back to this channel. My name is Gulsan. Today in this video, I am going to talk about my English fluency journey. Like how did I become fluent in this language? Coming from a very small village, how did I manage to be able to talk in this language fluently? That's what I'm going to talk about in this video. So let's get started without doing any further delay. So let's talk about my English fluency journey from the beginning. As I told you, I come from a Hindi medium background. I have never been to any English medium school so far, but I didn't let that stop me from learning this language, from speaking this language fluently. I had a desire to speak English fluently from the beginning. Like I wanted to speak English, and the reason was I wanted to do businesses with foreign clients. And in order for me to talk to them, in order for me to talk to a foreign client, I needed to learn this language well. I needed to communicate well in this language, and that's what I think motivated me to learn this language quickly. If you want to learn this language quickly, like if you want to speak English fluently in less time, what you need to do is you need to have a clear why for what you are learning this language for. If you have a clear why for what you are learning this language for, you are going to learn this language quickly because the reason is clear. So let's not talk about all this thing in detail. Let's come to the point and talk about what helped me speak English fluently. So when I got started with speaking English in 2020, I didn't know how to write. I am telling you the truth. I didn't know how to read properly. I didn't know all of that, let alone speaking. It was like a huge obstacle for me. Like it was huge obstacle. It was hard for me to learn this language. So what I did was I started with reading, because someone had told me that if you read, you will build fluency in this language, and when you will build fluency, it will be easier for you to speak this language. So first of all, you have to build fluency. So I started reading books. I started with third grade books, fourth grade books. I started with the books that I was comfortable with. I was not reading ninth grade or 10th grade books. I started with third grade books and fourth grade. Like I was reading those kinds of books that I was comfortable with. And if you are someone who are starting out from scratch, I want you to just start with reading and read books that you think are comfortable. And I was consistent with reading. I was reading every single day out loud. I used to read out loud so that I can hear my voice, and that's how I built my fluency. And you know what happened? In 6 months I developed and I learned how to read properly because I was consistent. I took help from Google. I took help from some people who are better than me, and I did that. I learned how to read. As I told you, I was consistent at reading books for 6 months. And after 6 months, what I had realized was, I realized that only reading was not going to help me become a fluent speaker in English. If I wanted to speak English fluently, I needed to speak this language every single day. And but I had a big difficulty. There were no one in my village who I can talk with in English. There were no one in my surrounding who I can talk with in English. I had no one to practice with in English. Who was I going to practice English with? That was the concern. And having all these kinds of things in my mind going on, I started searching for the videos on YouTube that could teach me how to speak English fluently. I watched many videos. Like I watched at least hundreds of videos on how to speak English fluently. And at the end of the day, what I realized was listening plays a huge role in speaking English. If you want to speak English, then you have to take a lot of input about this language. So then I started listening to this language. I used to listen to this language for whole day. I remember I would put up my buds and then I would listen to English songs, English podcast whole day. Even if I didn't understand, but I used to listen this language for whole day. I remember, because I was obsessed with improving my English. I was obsessed with learning this language. I am telling you the truth. I come from a Hindi medium background. You can imagine how hard it would have been for a person like me who come from a Hindi medium background to learn this language. And you know what? I was unaware of a term called active listening. I was not listening actively. So that's what I think took me so much time to learn this language. I was not listening actively, and what do I mean by actively is for 1 year straight I was only listening, and I was not understanding what was being said in whatever I was listening. But slowly I started understanding of what I was listening, and then I started practicing active listening. Active listening is when you repeat what you are listening. So then I started listening actively. I used to used to repeat what I was hearing. I used to mimic what I was listening. So that's what I used to do, and it improved my English drastically. Like, I remember some of the things now that's been repeated, and it's stored in my mind. Whenever I need that, it comes automatically. Why? Because I have placed that in my mind through repetition. So I did active listening. Active listening means I repeated things that I used to listen. That made me, I think that's what helped me the most becoming a fluent speaker in this language. Like, I can articulate thoughts well because of I practiced active listening. And when you practice active listening means when you are repeating things that you are hearing, when you are watching podcasts and you didn't understand some kind of things from that podcast, what you do is you google that, and then you understand what's the meaning of that thing, and then you repeat that, and then what you do is you stored all those things. Like, all those things that you are repeating is being stored in your mind that you will later need. Like, when you will need it, automatically will come out of your mind, and you will be surprised. That's what is happening with me. And it's not that I don't make mistakes while speaking now. I make mistakes, but I have minimized the number of mistakes I used to make in the past. That's what I have did. I had done all of that thing, but one problem I had was there were no one I could practice English with. There were no one in my village I could practice English with. That's the biggest problem I had. But I didn't let this stop me from learning this language, from speaking this language. I didn't let that stop me. What I did was I started recording myself talking something in English every single day. I used to record myself talking about a topic for hours. That's what I used to do. And then I used to review what I had just said in my video. How many times I had blinked my eyes, how many times, like, what I am doing with my hand gesture. That's all I used to observe, and I think that's what improved my English drastically. Also, I was doing this recording process every single day, and slowly I began to notice that I am improving. And yeah, that's what I did, man. So if you are someone who is starting from scratch, and you think that you can't learn this language, you are wrong. You are plain wrong. Like, I have learned this language from scratch. I had no one who I can practice English with. So if you are making this excuse that you don't have anyone to talk in English, I can say that you are making an excuse. I can make sure that you can learn this language. You can become a fluent speaker no matter where you are living, no matter you have friends who's better than you in English or not. You can learn this language. If you found this video helpful, I want you to like this video, and I also want you to subscribe to this channel because